A gun is loaded. A teenage girl is standing under the open night sky, surrounded by the ruins of a historic fort in New York City. Millions of people are watching her, not in person, from their bedrooms, from their couches, from the safety of their phones, and every single one of them just voted yes. Yes, pull the trigger. Yes, let her die. The shot rings out. She drops. The crowd goes absolutely wild. But here's the thing that'll keep you up at night. This wasn't a terrorist attack. It wasn't a gang hit. There was no shadowy government conspiracy pulling the strings. It was a game, an app downloaded voluntarily, agreed to willingly, and it turned millions of ordinary, everyday people into an anonymous mob, so desensitized, so detached from reality, that they voted to watch a 17-year-old girl get shot for entertainment. And what they didn't know, what nobody knew, was that the girl had a plan. This is Nerve, and this story goes so much deeper than a movie plot. Stay with me. The setup. Who is V? Meet Venus Delmonico. Goes by V. She's a senior in high school, lives on Staten Island, New York. On the surface, a completely normal girl. Quiet, thoughtful, the kind of person who blends into the background while everyone else is loud. But underneath that calm exterior, there's a storm. Not long ago, V lost her older brother. He's gone, just like that. And now it's just her and her mom, two people trapped in the same house, carrying the same grief, but never actually talking about it. The silence in that house is deafening. V has a dream. She wants to get into the California Institute of the Arts, study photography, build a life of her own, somewhere far from the weight of Staten Island. She's even applied, but she can't bring herself to tell her mother. Because if she leaves, her mom is completely alone, and V can't do that. Not now, not after everything. So she just sits on it, the acceptance letter, the dream, all of it buried. Now V's best friend is a girl named Sydney, and Sydney is her polar opposite. Sydney is loud, magnetic, the life of every room she walks into. She's the kind of person who doesn't just enter a party, she owns it. And Sydney is already deeply embedded in something called Nerve. She keeps pushing V to join. Come on, it's just a game, it's so much fun. Why are you always so scared? And every time, V says no. But what they didn't know, what V didn't know, was that one single night was about to change everything. The manipulation had already begun. She just couldn't see it yet. The machine. What exactly is Nerve? Before we go any further, you need to understand what Nerve actually is, because this thing is terrifying in its design. Nerve is an online reality game, but calling it a game almost feels too innocent. It's more like a finely engineered psychological trap, dressed up as entertainment. Here's how it works. There are two types of users, watchers and players. Watchers pay to watch. They sit at home, completely anonymous, completely safe, and they issue dares to the players in real time. They vote, they control, they're the audience, and the audience has all the power. Players perform the dares, complete them, and you get money, real money, deposited instantly. You gain followers, you climb the leaderboard, complete enough dares, and you earn a spot in the final, the grand event that supposedly ends with the top player winning a life-changing sum of money. Sounds thrilling, right? A bit edgy, maybe, but harmless enough. Wrong. Here's where Nerve reveals its true architecture, its genius, and its horror. When you sign up as a player, you hand the game everything. Your bank account details, your personal information, your identity. The app burrows deep into your phone, your data, your digital life. And the terms are ironclad. One rule above all others. No snitching. You do not go to the police. You do not try to expose the game. You do not quit without permission. Break those rules, the system destroys you. Financially, professionally, completely. Nerve isn't just a game, it's a form of cyber terrorism with a user-friendly interface and a 5-star rating. And V was about to press sign up. The first click, the night it all changed. The night it happened started ordinarily enough. V and Sydney were at a party together, and at that party was a guy named JP, a boy V had quietly liked for a long time. Never said anything, never acted on it. Classic V, keep it safe, keep it internal, don't risk the rejection. Sydney, already frustrated with what she called V's boring, risk-averse, play-it-safe approach to life, let her have it, right there at the party. You never do anything, V. You never take any chances. You're gonna blink and your whole life will have passed you by. It stings, mostly because it's not entirely wrong. V goes home that night and opens the Nerve app. The screen asks one simple question: watcher or player? She stares at it. There's a long pause, the kind that feels cinematic even in real life. And then she taps player. That one tap, that one moment of wounded pride translated into a digital decision. The machine had her. Within minutes, her first dare arrives. Kiss a random stranger. V almost laughs. That's it? That's the big, scary dare everyone's talking about? She heads to a diner nearby, spots a guy sitting alone, tall, easy demeanor, and the kind of face that makes you feel immediately comfortable. She starts to walk over, and before she can even say anything, he stands up, does this ridiculous little theatrical dance routine, sings a few lines, total showman energy, and grins at her. You're on Nerve too, aren't you? His name is Ian. And Ian is also a player. The chemistry is immediate, undeniable. Watchers watching both of them can see it, and they want more. Another dare pings almost instantly. Ian, take V to Manhattan, tonight. And just like that, a stranger becomes a partner, a game becomes an adventure, and the manipulation engine shifts into a higher gear. But here's what V didn't know, and this part is deeply unsettling. Ian's appearance at that diner was not a coincidence. The Watchers had been engineering this from the very beginning. We'll get back to that. Manhattan, where the thrill becomes a drug. The two of them ride Ian's motorcycle across to Manhattan, and what follows is one of those nights that feels cinematic, electric, and slightly unreal. Dare after dare. First, they walk into a high-end designer store and try on the most expensive outfits in the place. Thousands of dollars worth of clothing on two teenagers who've got nowhere to be and nothing to prove. The Watchers love it. Then, V has to get a real tattoo. Permanent. She hesitates. Ian's there. The Watchers are watching. She sits down and gets it done. Skin forever marked by a dare issued by strangers online. But the third dare, this is where the game reveals its true appetite for danger. Ian, ride the motorcycle. It's 60 miles per hour, blindfolded, with V on the back. Read that again. 60 miles per hour on a motorbike through city streets, driver blindfolded. Ian turns to V. He asks her a simple question: do you trust me? And in this moment, this is the manipulation at its most elegant, because V doesn't trust Nerve. She barely trusts herself right now, but she's starting to trust Ian, and Nerve knows exactly how to exploit that distinction. She says yes. The cloth goes over his eyes, the engine roars, and for those terrifying few seconds, two teenagers are flying through the streets of Manhattan at lethal speed, completely dependent on each other, while an invisible digital audience holds its breath and screams for more. They survive. They pull over. They're shaking and laughing and looking at each other with that specific kind of adrenaline-high gaze that only near-death experiences produce. And the numbers on their profiles? Exploding. Followers in the tens of thousands. Prize money stacking up fast. They're trending. They're stars. That feeling, that rush, is the game's most powerful drug, and both of them are now thoroughly addicted. But what they didn't know was that behind the scenes, someone had already written the script for how this night was going to end, and it had nothing to do with fun. Sydney's fall and the party that broke everything. V's rise through the Nerve rankings doesn't go unnoticed. Sydney sees it, feels it, and it burns. She was the one who introduced V to the game. She was the popular one. She was the star.
And now her quiet, cautious best friend is out trending her on the platform she helped build her identity on. Jealousy does something ugly to people, and it did something ugly to Sydney. She accepts a dare, a brutal one. On the roof of a building, someone has laid a ladder horizontally, extending from one rooftop across the gap to another building's roof, several stories up, nothing below but asphalt and consequences. The dare: walk across it. Sydney climbs up, looks at the ladder, looks down at the drop, starts moving, and then she freezes. She can't do it. She bails. And in the world of Nerve, bailing means one thing: elimination. Sydney is out, just like that. The girl who lived for the game, knocked off the leaderboard in front of everyone. For someone whose entire social identity was wrapped up in that platform, it's devastating. And then, because the night wasn't brutal enough already, V shows up at the party and she sees Sydney kissing JP, the boy V had quietly liked for months. The two friends lock eyes across the room, and something breaks.
An argument erupts, vicious, real, all the resentment and jealousy and grief that had been quietly building between them finally detonating in the middle of a crowded party. But right in the middle of that fight, V's phone buzzes. A message from her friend Tommy, a quiet, brilliant hacker who'd been digging into Nerve's backend out of growing concern. And what Tommy found changed everything. The revelation: Ian was never what he seemed. Tommy had been running code against Nerve's systems, trying to understand its architecture. And buried in the data, he found something that recontextualized every single moment of that magical night in Manhattan. Ian's initial dare, the one that led him to V at that diner, hadn't been random. The Watchers had specifically targeted V. They had dared Ian to seek her out by name, to bring her to the party, and, this is the part that's genuinely chilling, to manufacture a conflict between her and Sydney. The whole night, the chemistry, the trust exercise on the motorcycle, the laughter, the tattoo, the expensive clothes, the electricity between them, all of it had been orchestrated. Not Ian necessarily, but by the machine that was pulling both of their strings. Was Ian complicit? Did he know he was being used to manipulate her? Or was he just another player following dares, not fully grasping the psychological architecture he was participating in? V confronts him. He doesn't have clean answers, because the truth is messy, and Ian is tangled up in this in ways V doesn't yet understand. But what she understands right now is this: she can't trust anyone in this game, not fully, not even him. And then another dare arrives. V, complete Sydney's unfinished dare: cross the ladder. The same ladder, the one Sydney couldn't finish, the one hanging stories above the street with nothing to catch you if you slip. One step, 2 steps, 3. She doesn't look down. She makes it across. The notification pings, the followers flood in, the money lands, the Watchers go insane. But V, standing on that roof, isn't celebrating. Something has shifted in her, a clarity. Because standing up there, she realizes she didn't cross that ladder because she wanted to. She crossed it because Nerve made refusing impossible, because the cost of saying no was too high, because she was trapped.
This isn't freedom. This is a cage with a beautiful view. She decides right then and there that she's going to destroy this game. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that Nerve had already anticipated exactly this moment, and it had a response ready. V goes to the police. She sits down across from an officer and lays out everything. The game, the dares, the distributed server architecture, the psychological coercion, the financial control. The officer listens patiently and then asks, "You said you signed up voluntarily?" "Yes." "And you agreed to the terms of service?" "Yes." Then I'm not sure what you'd like us to do here. She walks out of that police station with absolutely nothing. No help, no protection, no validation that what she's describing is even illegal. And Nerve, which sees everything, because Nerve is essentially surveillance software wearing a game's clothing, had already flagged her visit. Her phone buzzes before she even gets to the bottom of the precinct's steps. She opens her banking app. Her account and her mother's joint account is empty. Every penny gone, stripped out in seconds by a system with complete access to her financial identity. She thinks about her mom, a woman who already lost her son, who works alone, who has no idea her daughter signed up to be a digital puppet for an anonymous mob. And now that woman's bank account has been emptied because her daughter tried to do the right thing. V is standing alone on a Manhattan street, crying, when someone comes up behind her. She doesn't see it coming. The world goes dark. She wakes up in a shipping container. Steel walls, low light, the smell of rust and salt air. And sitting across from her, Ian. This is where the full shape of the horror becomes visible, because Ian doesn't try to lie to her. Not anymore. There's a third category of Nerve participants, not watchers, not players, prisoners. Ian explains he and a guy named Ty had been players once, just like V. But before all of this, back in Seattle, they had a friend, also a player. He accepted a dare that went wrong. He died. Ian and Ty tried to report it, tried to go to the authorities, tried to expose the game, and the system came down on them with everything it had. Jobs lost, not theirs, their families, bank accounts wiped, identities compromised, digital lives systematically dismantled. Nerve sent them a message. You belong to us now. You're not players anymore. You're prisoners. The only way out is to reach the final and win, in hope that the machine that has destroyed everything keeps its word about giving it back.
But something about this doesn't add up. And V, even terrified and exhausted in a shipping container, starts to see it. There's a way out, but it requires something none of them have tried yet. While V was navigating her nightmare, Tommy had been quietly building an army. Tommy is the kind of person the world consistently underestimates. Soft-spoken, background dweller, the last person you'd cast as the hero of a cyber thriller. But Tommy is extraordinarily good at what he does, and what he does is understand systems. He pulled in his network of hacker contacts and started tearing into Nerve's architecture. What they found was both impressive and deeply sinister. Nerve has no central server, no headquarters to raid, no kill switch to find and flip. Instead, the entire platform runs as a distributed network. Every single watcher's phone acts as a node. As long as millions of people are logged in and watching, the game cannot be shut down. Kill one node, 1,000 others keep it running. It was, from a technical standpoint, elegant cyber terrorism, designed from the ground up to be indestructible. Sydney, who had lost everything in one night and was now desperately trying to make it right, sat beside Tommy as he mapped the system. She'd watched jealousy push her into a suicidal dare. She'd kissed her best friend's crush out of spite, and now V was trapped somewhere in this machine because of the chain of events Sydney had helped move into motion. "Let me help," she told Tommy. They couldn't shut Nerve down, but Tommy had an idea. You can't destroy the server, but what if you could use the server to destroy itself? And for that plan to work, something terrible had to happen first. The final takes place at Battery Weed, a crumbling 19th century fort on a small island in New York Harbor. At night, under floodlights, with millions of people watching on their phones. It is, by design, a spectacle. Nerve's grand finale, the pinnacle of its entertainment product. V qualifies, Ian qualifies.
They stand together in the ruins of that old fort, surrounded by the apparatus of the game, and they look at each other the way people look at each other when they're terrified and completely out of options. "Whatever happens, I'm with you," Ian says. V nods. The final dare materializes on screen, broadcast to every watcher simultaneously. Shoot each other. Real guns, loaded, placed in their hands. The crowd erupts. This is what they've been waiting for all night. The catharsis, the ultimate dare, the thing you simply cannot look away from. V and Ian look at the guns, look at each other, and both say the same thing, clearly, simultaneously. No. Refusal. Straight refusal. Human beings drawing a line. And Nerve's response to that refusal is chilling in its efficiency. Ty steps forward. He takes Ian's place, and a vote is pushed to every single watcher watching that night.
Ty raises the gun. Ian screams. The shot fires. V falls. The watchers go absolutely insane with excitement. They got what they came for. The manipulation engine delivered its ultimate product. Consequence-free voyeurism of the worst kind. A girl is dead, and they cheered. But here's what they didn't know. The trap closes on the watchers. Tommy and his team were ready. They couldn't shut Nerve down from the outside, but they'd found something in the code, a vulnerability not in the servers themselves, but in the account data. Every watcher's profile was anonymized on the surface, but the real identity data was there, buried underneath, encrypted. Tommy cracked it. In the seconds after the shot, as millions of watchers celebrated with zero accountability, Tommy's code pushed a single message to every single screen still logged in to Nerve. You are an accessory to murder. And underneath that, their name, their real name, their address. Not a threat, just information. You are not anonymous. We know exactly who you are, and you just voted for this. The panic was instantaneous. People who had spent the entire night hiding behind usernames and profile pictures suddenly had their actual identities staring back at them from their own screens. Every person who had voted yes was now holding a phone that knew their name and was telling them they had participated in someone's death. They logged out, thousands of them, hundreds of thousands, in a wave of pure panic. And every logout was a node going dark. The distributed network began collapsing in real time, server by server, phone by phone. The game that had been designed to be indestructible was being torn apart by the very audience that powered it. Nerve went dark. The screens went black. It was over. Ian is on the ground, holding V, crying, the kind of crying that comes from somewhere deeper than grief. It's the sound of someone whose world has just ended. Ty stands nearby, head down. And then V moves. Ian freezes. She sits up, opens her eyes. She's completely fine. It takes Ian several seconds to process what he's looking at. She wasn't shot, not really. Ty had fired, but this was the plan. V and Ty had worked it out together. A blank round, staged blood, a performance calibrated to look completely real to millions of distant screens. Because here's what the brutal truth of what they'd figured out. You cannot fight Nerve with code alone. Tommy couldn't shut it down by attacking the infrastructure. The only way to kill the game was to make the audience destroy it themselves.
Nerve didn't create cruelty, it just gave it an interface. And the film's most unsettling question isn't, could an app like this exist? It's, how many of the people watching this movie would have voted yes? If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe to Dark Decode for more, and drop in the comments, would you have been a watcher, a player, or would you have found the off switch before it was too late?